Alright, so yesterday we talked about slope-intercept form, or writing equations in slope-intercept form. And in order to write an equation in slope-intercept, so yesterday, if you're going to go straight to slope-intercept, you need the slope and you need the y-intercept. And so we talked about that a y-intercept has 0 for the x and then some number for the y, and that would be the y-intercept, whatever that number is. But there has to be 0 comma something as one of the points that you have in the problem. Okay, so you always need slope and a point. So if the point happens to be the y-intercept, fantastic. But most of the time, it's not. Okay, so remember, again, to write an equation of a line, you need slope and a point. And again, if the point happens to be the y-intercept, because it's 0 comma a number, that's the best case scenario, but many times it is not. And so when it's not, we have to use point slope form, because I have a point and I have a slope. So it should be hopefully easy to remember the name, but it's a different formula. Okay, so there's point slope form. M is the slope. Remember, I need slope and a point. The x1, y1 is the point that I have in the problem. So just like slope-intercept has y equals mx plus b, so let me write that up here, there's still a y, just a y, and just an x in the problem. Just the numbers get filled in with the m and the b. In point slope form, there's still this y and this x that are in the problem. They're the same as this y and this x in slope-intercept form. Just the m and the x1 and the y1 are going to be the numbers that we plug into the problem. Okay, so excuse me, some of your problems are going to be, the first 4 are going to be very simple in that it just says write an equation in point slope form of the line that passes through the point and has the given slope. So it's literally going to say m equals 3 or whatever, and the point is -5, 2. And so you're just plugging in the information. Now, the one thing that we need to be careful of here is because there's minus signs in the formula. So it says minus y1 and minus x1. This means in both of these, because of the minus sign, I'm going to do the opposite of what I see over here. So when I plug it in, that minus sign means do the opposite. So what's the y part? The y part is a 2. And when I look at it, I see a positive 2. But I'm going to write the opposite. Slope is 3. X, and then the x part is a -5. I do the opposite and put a positive 5. Okay, it's really like the minus sign from the formula and the minus sign from the number, or the negative from the number. 2 negatives make a positive 5. But if you just remember, hey, I plug in the point as the opposite, then I think that's going to be like helpful. Okay. All right, so the first few are just plug it in and you're done. Okay. But then as we move through the assignment, it's going to say to write an equation in slope-intercept form. But you're not going to have the y-intercept because the point isn't 0, something. So we're going to have to start in point slope form. Well, let me even back up there. So the first thing that you're going to have to do here is find the slope. Then we're going to have to start in point slope form, and then convert to slope intercept. Okay, so remember that slope is change in y over change in x. So yeah, there's a slope formula, but like I've said before, I think sometimes we get mixed up with that. So change in y, that's 2 to negative 2. Well, if it's positive to negative, that means it gets smaller, so it's going to be a negative. And then if you think on a number line from 2 to negative 2, how many spaces is that? And if you count them, it would be 4 spaces. If you count down from 2 to 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, you went down 4 numbers. So we'll have negative 4 for the y. And then the x, we go from 1 to 3. It went from 1 to 3 is bigger, so it'll be positive. And from 1 to 3 is it went up 2. So the slope is negative 2. Okay, so now I need to use the slope, negative 2, and one of the points. It doesn't matter which one, you will get the same answer. So whichever one you look at and think that one's easier, that's the point that you should pick. So it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. I typically pick the point if two numbers are positive. I pick that one. It usually ends up working out easier. So when I do my point slope form, okay, the y is the y, then I plug in the point. The 2 is the y part, so the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. Slope is negative 2, x, and then that's a positive 1, so I do the opposite, negative 1. Okay. Alright, now, so I start in point slope form. I found the slope. I did step number 1. Step number 2, start in point slope. I did that. Now I need to convert it. Okay, and here's the thing. The converting is the same every single time. So to convert to slope intercept, you are going to distribute, and then you are going to add or subtract every single time. Okay, so I'm going to distribute the negative 2 negative, negative, positive, so be careful of that. And then I'm going to add or subtract, and in this case I'm going to add, not with the x, but with the number at the end. there's the equation of the line. Okay, so this converting part is always the same. You're going to distribute the slope, basically. Just whatever number's in front of the parentheses. And then you are going to add or subtract this number over here that's with the y. Okay? Alright, so you'll have a few of those that there's two of them that are on a graph already. You can find the slope by doing change in y, change in x like on the graph and just count like the spaces. Or you could do it like this one and just use the points that they give you. And then there's a few where you actually have like coordinates like I just had. Okay, and then the last set of problems are essentially the same as what we just did. They're just listed like this. So remember, you're just writing these as coordinates. Okay, so find the slope. -2 to 4. Negative to positive means bigger. Bigger by how much? Six. And then 4 to 8 goes up. How much? 4. So our slope is 6 over 4, but I do want to reduce that, if possible. If it's a fraction and it can be reduced, you want to do that. Okay. All right. So found my slope. Now I go to point slope form. So I'm going to pick the 8 and the 4 because they're both positive. You could pick the other one, that's fine, but so y minus 4, slope is 3 over 2, x minus 8. Alright, so yes, you may have to do a fraction when we multiply. The first part should be easy, it's just 3 over 2x. Okay, the second part, so remember in a fraction, when we're multiplying, you can multiply with times 3 and then divide by 2, or you can do divide by 2 and then times 3, but you're always multiplying with the numerator and dividing with the denominator. So if I did, so this is what I'm doing really. Okay, so if I did that, then I'd get 12. Okay, but minus 12. So if you did 8 divided by 2, you get 4. Then times 3 is 12. So you're still going to get 12. 8 times 3 is 24. Divided by 2 is 12. Doesn't matter. Okay, and then add or subtract. I'm adding because it's subtraction. Negative 12 plus 4 is negative 8. So you'll have, I think it's 3 problems at the end. Last 3 problems that will start off as a function notation and just convert them to coordinates. Okay, we're going to be using this point slope form for a couple days here, other than just today, but a couple more days this week. So it's kind of a big one. That's a big formula to remember. It's kind of if you don't have that one, you're not going to be able to do a bunch of the problems when it comes time for a test. So that's a big thing to remember. All right. It's not too many problems because they do take a few steps to do. So let's see how many it really is. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, just 12. So not a lot. All right. Have a great day, guys. See you tomorrow.